I definitely like simulator games, and this is one of my first little treasures. This is the Ferrari 458 Italia racing wheel or steering wheel dismounted, and there is the pedal set. There, this is a pretty much entry-level pedal set, so there's nothing. Not a lot of options you can choose. There is a gas, and there is the brake. So this is an entry-level stuff. This little thing here is the Thrustmaster T500 RS steering wheel with a Thrustmaster shifter. This is a little bit better than, and there is the T500 RS pedal set, which you can buy standalone. You can buy a standalone version from that, but this came with that steering wheel. So that's a little bit more serious, and obviously that cost a little bit more. So this video is about fixing the steering wheel, and this steering wheel is it is 2.5 years old, and the steering wheel this was fixed in a very interesting way. This is a very elastic little thing, very strong, and the main task of this little rubber stripes. These are little rubber stripes inside of that. Probably you're not able to see. These are little rubber stripes covered with some elastic material, and these are very strong. And the main reason for that was to put the steering wheel back to its original position. So that inside of the wheel, inside the base, there is absolutely no force feedback. Nothing. And after 2 years, this resigned. It resigned to do its job, and there was nothing to make the steering wheel go back to its original position. So you couldn't drive, you couldn't do a precise lap. The steering wheel was so loose, and that was a disaster. But since I'm Hungarian and I like old things, I don't like throw things to the trash can. I most likely take a look if they can be fixed. So I decided to have a look inside of the steering wheel's base and trying to fix it. That Thrustmaster that originally came from the that originally come with the steering wheel, I couldn't buy something like that. So you have to cook what you have at home. So I bought this rubber stripe. It was 140 centimeters long, and this is also elastic, not that strong, but it most certainly can do its job. So as you can see there, there are some little piece of wood. I turned the rubber stripe around it, and then there, and then I fixed them with a little thing. I don't know its name, what you use for cable management in a PC case. It is that. This is something that you use for cable management. So inside, the light isn't that good. Inside there you can see the rubber stripes going around, and its main task is to turn back the steering wheel to its original position. So I couldn't find many videos where people dismounted this Ferrari 458 Italia racing wheel. So this is my first, almost my first look inside of it. And so I finally did that job. So the steering wheel moving back to its original position now, but I have to I had to notice that the precision of the steering wheel wasn't as it was before. So I tried to take a look on the steering wheel's sensor. So this little sensor is that. That little thing goes inside, there's the connector, and this little sensor, this one, is going with that bracket or plate into the base. Oh, let's try to do that. It is very hard to make it with one hand. So it's going inside that like that, and there is a little hole there. There's a little hole, and the sensor is going into that hole, and the sensor is doing its job and making the steering wheel, making the car to turn. So it is an interesting thing, because the base, what we have here, the base has a little gain. It can go up and down. Probably you're able to hear that also. So obviously when the base is fitted to the table, then the steering wheel has a little game sideways. So the steering wheel's axis can move a little bit. It's not the steering that, so the axis can move a little bit. It is interesting, but I mentioned that if we put this little connector into its hole and we are fitting it, then, oh my god, sorry for that. Great. And now this is going to be a very interesting video. So when you take out this little bracket and you turn the steering wheel, you also make the sensor to move. And there you can see on the picture, the sensor is not correctly fitted, so it's a piece of crap. But if you move this little thing, then you can see that it's almost very precise. That is very good. But this little sensor doesn't like if the steering, if the axis of the steering is going in and out. So when you push it back, when it's like you push the steering wheel towards the base, you can see that it is jumping, and I'm just pushing it in and out, and the sensor doesn't like that. So the main point is so when you actually fit this little bracket to the base, then you force the steering wheel and the sensor to move. The main point is to make the steering wheel's axis to move with that bracket and with the sensor, while the little sensor is fitted so it can't turn around. So actually, so I'm trying to dismount that. There is the sensor, and you can take that out like that. So there is the sensor, and there is that little hole, but there is that little thing which is going into the hole, and when you turn this little thing, the sensor, it is very precise, but when you push it towards to the back, then it is going to be pretty much imprecise. So what we have to do is to put that back together and I am as much as excited as you are, because that is just the theory. So I don't know if we can put this little thing again into its hole. Okay, so I'm turning off this video, and I'll be back when it is put together. So I made that back. So again, the main point is that you have to avoid that up and down moving, that up and down game of the steering wheel's base. When you do that, you will probably be able to force that the sensor is going with the steering wheel's axis up and down, and it isn't perfectly fitted to the base, to its original position. So it will probably solve the imprecision of the steering wheel. Let's see if I'm right. So that is actually what I was talking about. There is the little game of the steering wheel. I will not be able to show that. Out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in. You're able to. Probably you're able to see that is going in and out, in and out. And the sensor, here is the sensor, there, this little piece inside, that is the hole which is holding it, and there is the little plate which is fixing it from the upper side. And you're able to see here that I left a little place where it can move. That is not that much place. Sadly I can't show you, but the main point is to go that the axis of the steering wheel is going in and out, and this has to be moved in and out also, this bracket. And where are the two screws? There is the first one, and there is the second one. And you don't have to tighten these screws that much. So it has a little game. And let's take a look on the screen how it is behaving. So when you move the steering wheel, I am turning that very slowly. It is pretty much precise. And when I'm turning it and trying to pull in and out, there you don't see that much steering imprecision than it was before. It has a little bit, of course, because it is an entry-level stuff, but you don't see that much. That's good. And the steering wheel itself, the rubber is moving back to its original position. It is very loose in the center, but it was also very loose with the original pieces. And there you are able to see the rubber stripe there and there. Let's see if I can show you what's under the rubber stripes. There is a little stuff that is holding and pulling it up. And now, as you're able... So, actually, you can see how it is behaving and how it had to be fixed. Oops. Here. There is the little white thing the thing for the cable management in PC cases. And now I'm going to put the plate of the wheel's base back, and there are this little stuff which we won't use anymore. This was originally with this elastic material. It was turned back. I can show it with one hand. It was turned back and also fitted with a piece of metal, or I don't know with what. And this was the original piece which was holding the steering wheel, and which forced it back to its original position. So I am now very curious. See, that is a pretty good precision from an entry-level steering wheel. And why throw that out? Why throw that out? If this little thing can be fixed, then let's fix it. Now, that is all I wanted to show you, and hope you enjoyed this video, and I will be back a little bit later to share the results. Alright, so the steering wheel became pretty much drivable, and the race car is pretty much drivable. I made 2:12.477 lap time. That was with the 04 Lister Storm, the Lister Racing Lister Storm with the Dunlop tires, and the steering wheel performs pretty well. It is awesome. It has a little laziness when turning to the right. The car reacts a little bit later, but when you're turning to the left, the steering wheel the car is lazy when you're turning to the left, but when you're turning to the right, it is pretty much precise. And what's more important, the car and the steering input is not jumping right and left, right and left, right and left when you are turning. So I have to admit that this has become pretty much great. So you still have the little option, and the steering wheel goes in and out, in and out, in and out, and probably you are not able to see it on the video, but this little hole there, that little hole is not shrinking and not getting bigger and bigger when I'm moving in and out the steering wheel. So obviously that fixing was in a way successful, and hope you enjoyed this video, and see you.